You've heard this many times from me where I say there are things I want to say, but it's up here in my head, and trying to verbalize it is extremely difficult. And I don't know if that's boring to you people when I say that sort of thing, but this is another one of those issues where I think that this is an extremely important video, given the fact that I get feedback from people who I'm corresponding with, and I read and I try my damnedest to understand their life situation or your life situation and try to respond with my own wisdom and experience included in my intuition, with the guidance of God, trying my best to help you along the way in your life. That's what I do. Given that, that's what this video is about. I want to, it's very difficult for me to say it in such a way that you accept what I'm saying as truth. Because that's one of the, man, I'm all over the damn map here. So I was talking to my brother this morning and my wife, trying to get their take. It's like I said, I know what the problem is for a lot of people that watch my videos. I know what the problem is, but I want your take on it. And I told both my wife and my brother on different occasions. I called my brother, but obviously my wife lives here. And I said, how do I get across to these people that what they're missing is what was brought into the picture by Jesus? Or shall I rephrase it, by the Christ? How do I bring that into the picture in such a way that it makes sense to them? And I said, and this is what they're missing. Jesus taught the love of Christ, the love of God. This is what Jesus taught. Now, herein lies the problem. I spent the better part of 50 years of my life as a devout Christian. And in the end, I no longer belong to any church or any church-affiliated association or any religion or any faith whatsoever that has anything to do with Christianity. And of course, I don't belong to any organization of Hinduism or anything else either. But I am a devout follower of God, and there is no religion or faith on the planet that is a devout follower of God. Now, I know they say there are, but who do they say they follow? Well, it's either Buddha or Krishna or Joseph Smith or Jesus or Muhammad or whoever. I mean, Abraham. The names just keep coming out, and then the religions are after it. And what I teach, you can't ascribe it to my pen name, which is Billy Kranston. I mean, that's not my real name. My born name is John Arness. That's who my family and everyone knows me by. But you can't start a church by the name of John Arness, because then it would be misinterpreted. And everybody would say, well, it's the Church of John or the Church of Billy or whatever. or the faith. But I don't want anything associated with me other than I'm your friend. And you can't call it the Church of God because nobody knows who God is. And yet I teach about God. But you can't get to God without going through Jesus. And that is extremely offensive to people from the Eastern faiths, meaning Hinduism, Buddhism, even Sanatana Dharma, and all of these faiths and beliefs and teachings. It's offensive to think that you must go through this individual of Jesus. Now, this is super important. Jesus has been dead for 2,000 years. What does that tell you? It tells you that 100% of what you know about Jesus has been spoon-fed to you. Who knows what's true and what isn't true? You could say, well, I read the Bible and I got everything out of the Holy Bible. But whose Bible is that? Is it the King James Bible? A king, for God's sakes. A king. There's no such thing as a righteous king. They're all evil and corrupt. They're in it for their own power and authority. So the King James Version of the Bible has been corrupted in such a way that gives power to their authority. And furthermore, you could say, well, the Bible is the Word of God. Who says it's the Word of God? Just because you say it's the Word of God doesn't mean it's the Word of God. God has never come down to me and said, hey, John, this is my word, and it's the Bible. In fact, God told me the opposite. However, you can't find out what Jesus taught without reading the Bible. Corrupt as it may be, that's where the information is. But it's no different with Hinduism. You can't get those truths without searching the Vedas, the Bhagavad Gita, the sutras of Buddha. You can't get that without reading it, even though it's all corrupt. So what I'm saying to you is 100% of everything that's in your head, whatever it is you think about when you think of the personage of Jesus, the Jesus Christ who lived 2,000 years ago, 100% of what you think that individual is and was and represented and taught has been spoon-fed to you. It isn't first-hand information. You didn't have a one-on-one communication with Jesus, so you have no clue. And in fact, there's many people who say the guy never existed. It's a fable they teach. So what is and what isn't true? Of course, there is no way for you to know when you read Bibles and when you go to churches and faiths and you listen to other people teach you. All you're doing is learning information. You're getting knowledge based upon information. And I'm telling you that information is corrupt. That doesn't mean it isn't true. It doesn't mean there isn't truth in it. All I'm saying is all of it's corrupt. It's designed in such a way that if you study it all and you get doctorate degrees and PhDs with studying all of this stuff, all it means is you have learned everything that there is that people have spoon-fed each other without any actual one-on-one experience. So what I'm trying to teach is that I kind of, in my initial creation of videos, which started, I don't keep track of this stuff, more than 10 years ago. I mean, if you look on my history, you'd think I'd do my own research, but I think it's been longer than 10 years. And I went in such a direction as to appeal to people that are not Christians, because they're their own self-sealed belief system. I was in that group. And I extricated myself from that group when I found out you cannot become enlightened in that group. You cannot become God enlightened in that group. It can't happen. And I learned everything I could possibly learn over the course of 35 years of super intense studying and learning, and I was the teacher of those people. I taught the leadership in the area in which I lived. And I knew that I was lacking something. And so I branched off, I left, which was extremely difficult to leave. When I say extremely difficult, I'm talking mentally. It was an 8-year curse is what I call it. It was a living hell every day. I didn't know how to survive. And yet, by the grace of God, I did survive. It was so mentally, excruciatingly difficult. To extricate myself from the brainwashing. And every one of you are in the same condition. Every one of you that I'm talking to is in the same condition. Because you're on the other track. When I say you, what I'm saying is for the last 10 plus years, I've been appealing to the Eastern philosophy sect, for the people that would call themselves people that are in spirituality, people that study under the guidance of gurus, people that figured that they can figure out the secrets of enlightenment through the following of gurus, of different ones, of studying Bhagavad Gitas and the Vedas and all these sorts of things, and listening to other teachers of non-duality on YouTube and stuff like that. Those are the people that I've been appealing to over the last 10 years. And why? Because I've already accomplished the Christian aspect. And I can't appeal to those people. I already did. And now I'm on this side. And I've got all of this side. And found that that side doesn't give you what you need. And then I went out into the ether, if you will. Bizarro land, call it whatever you want. My brother Gordon was in that realm for many decades. And so I went there. Can't find what you need there. And so now I'm listening to people who communicate with me through emails, and I can see their pain and suffering. I have empathy for them. I can feel what they're going through. And I'm telling you now, what you're missing is the teachings of Christ. Now, I can tell you, you can go into the Holy Bible and you can study the teachings of Christ in the New Testament, and you can try to understand it, recognizing full well that it's corrupt. Recognizing full well before you open the first page, it's corrupt. John is telling you that It's corrupt. But at the same time, John is telling you, you need to go there. You need to study that stuff. You need to understand what the main emphasis of what Christ taught. And implement that into your knowledge base. Everything that is contained within your heart and soul and everything that is there. I'm not telling you to throw it away. I'm telling you to implement it. I can't tell you what you need to throw away. Only you can tell you what to throw away. But I can tell you what you need to add. And then when you add it, you will know what needs to be tossed out. The tossing out is the most difficult thing. It is the hindrance of what prevents enlightenment. I would like to say it's the hindrance which prevents you from God enlightenment, but that isn't true because you also need the intervention of God for God enlightenment. Whereas enlightenment, like Buddha, you can do it on your own. Let's put it this way. You can open the door through the concept of what Buddha taught. You can open the door. There is a way to open the door, but even that requires the mystical magic of enlightenment. That comes by way of God, but you don't know it comes by way of God in Buddha enlightenment. So what I'm trying to tell you is, please, when I tell you in my videos, and I tell you absolutely truth, that I do this because I love you, that I do this because I was in your shoes. Luckily for me, I had a wife that I married, that I met in high school. And she has never abandoned me, and I never have abandoned her. Luckily for me, I had that friend that loved me, that could sustain me through the most difficult times in my life, spiritually speaking. But a lot of you are alone. And you might see in me when I tell you I love you, from the bottom of my heart, I love you. And that I want an eternal bond of friendship with you, every one of you. Man or woman, it makes no difference. This is why in lots of spiritual groups they call each other brother and sister. Because they want it to be an eternal bond. Whereas I know that it's an eternal bond. This I know. And so what you're lacking is the love of teachings of Jesus. The love of me will not sustain you. I do not contain the massive supernatural strength to save you, but Jesus does. The problem is the teachings that are in the Bible and the teachings everywhere are corrupt. And because you already have the knowledge and wisdom and understandings of decades of of Hinduism, of Buddhism, of spirituality, because you have all of those things, if you were to become a member of a Christian church, you wouldn't be able to stand it. You'd sit there and you'd go, wow, this is so awesome that the people are so filled with love and joy towards Jesus, and on and on and on. And then eventually you'd start seeing the corruption and the stupid, inane things that are required to be a member of these churches. And it's only stupid and inane because you know from an Eastern philosophy teaching that it's inane and stupid. But they have the same feelings of Eastern philosophy, the teachings of the gurus and stuff. And they fear each other. Well, of course, this is all divide and conquer by the god of this world, Satan, or Shiva. One and the same. But you have to marry the two together. And even when you do that, when you marry the two together, it isn't enough. But you absolutely 100% have to marry the two together. And then you be the arbitrator as to what gets thrown out and what stays in. And when I say you are the one that does it through your intuition and input from the unknown God, Brahma, the God that Jesus prayed to. You pray to that God, but you never get answers. Or the answers you get, it's like, psst, what does it mean? There's a reason for that. But here's what my brother gave me a tidbit of information this morning that is absolutely crucial. I was explaining the exact same things I'm talking with you about. And he said, yeah. I see what you're saying. But here's the problem. You got on this side a piece of titanium steel. And we'll call that God. And over here you got a piece of titanium steel. And we'll call this you. Me. The individuals. And Jesus and everybody says, or Jesus says, I and the Father are one. Well, how is it you're one? This is a piece of titanium. This is a piece of titanium. You can't push them together. They don't go together. There is no way to make them go together. You could crush them. You can throw them at each other. You can sit them next to each other for 1 billion years. They will not become one. But if you get out your TIG welder and you start welding, they become one. And in fact, if you know anything about welding, if you've taken welding classes or anything, you know that if a welder is very good, you can take those two welded pieces and put them in a device or a vise or whatever and bend it with massive thousands of pounds of bending pressure. And not only will it not break where the weld is, but if it does break, it'll break over here or over here, but not the weld. The weld will not break if it's done correctly. These two metals have become one. What is that welding? That would be the teachings of Christ. That would be the love of Christ. That would be the atonement of Christ. And yet, all the teachings that are available in the world to teach you about Christ are corrupt. But so is everything else corrupt. What I'm telling you is corrupted by my own ability to use language, by my own ability to articulate what's up here and to verbalize it and to get to you. It's corrupt. It's not that I'm lying. I'm doing the best I can. I have a prayer every time before I make a video. Every single time, without fail. Importuning God, please help me. Help me. These people that watch the videos, I love them. You love them. Christ loves them. I want your help, Father in heaven, to help convey the message to them because they need your help. They are suffering. They are going through the hellish sufferings that everyone has to go through to get that welding done correctly. It is super difficult to get it to work perfect. Why? Because we are brainwashed from birth. Every one of us. Be it you're a Christian, a Hindu, Sanatana Dharma follower of New Age Christianity, witchcraft, who cares what it is? None of it is pure. It can't be pure. Lastly, the one last thing I want to cover that's really not a part of this. I should end this video right now, but I'm not going to. Is, again, I was looking for something. I Google searched. I searched my other books. I searched YouTube up one side and down the other. Excuse me. And I was looking for something along the lines of what I teach about duality, if you will. I call it duality because it's the opposite of non-duality. You can't find anything. Maybe it exists, but you can't find it. I don't think it exists. But that is a part of this world. That's what I'm telling you. Trying to find the truth is next to impossible in this world. I have found the truth. But I shouldn't say that I found it. Rather, what happened was I loved God so profusely. I loved the creation of God and the opportunities that were provided for my spiritual growth. And I was grateful for the help that anyone and everyone had ever given me. And the culminating result of that was enlightenment. I never went searching for enlightenment. I never went searching for God enlightenment. I knew that these things were possible, but I never went searching for them. I instead focused on the little things. If I could just learn a little more today than I did yesterday. I didn't care about enlightenment. I didn't care about becoming one with God. No, that's not the right saying. What I mean is I did care, but that wasn't my focus. My focus was to try to learn a little more today than what I knew yesterday. Try to help someone a little more today than I did yesterday. Try to help someone else learn a little more today than what they knew yesterday. try to tweak just ever so slightly somebody's understanding so that it helps them realign. Because I know you all that are sincere want to find the truth. You want to find the path forward. There is no path forward for you that you're going to find without you finding it through prayer, through inspiration. That's the path forward. You're not going to find it written in books, taught at the pulpits. Because I can't even tell you what the path forward is for you, because everyone has a different path. You know that saying, as above, so below, and how they depict it in a picture is like a tree, and there's a trunk and it branches out into all these branches and leaves and all that kind of stuff. And then as below, it branches out the same way. You know that? You know that, how that goes? The reason I can't tell you the path is because everyone starts off as their own tip of one of those branches. And as above, so below, and you're going one direction because that's, you want to become one with God. And what is your path? Well, somebody's on this side, somebody's on this side. Yeah, you can see the same light of God, so to say, but you don't have the same path to get to the light of God. You're coming from different angles and you got to twist around in circles and everything else. And then when you become one with God, you branch out again. And why do you branch out again? Because you're an individual. And in the house of God, there are, as Jesus teaches, there are many mansions in the house of God. What does that mean? That's just who knows what he originally said. That's what was written. I'm guessing what he originally said was something like what I'm telling you right now, as above, so below. That the many mansions in his Father's kingdom is the fact that the tree blossoms out. It's an eternal blossoming out, and it's all one with God. But you came from down below. It's like the sun is above and all the atmosphere, and it provides all the nutrients and everything that the tree needs, but it sucks it up. And you're what? And you're on that path. Of course, you don't have to be on that path, but you are. And you see the light. You see the same light I see. You just have to get to that light on a different path than me. But when you get there and you start branching out, you and I will be eternally bound by the love that we have for each other right now. Friends, here on planet Earth, and in the most despicable conditions imaginable, essentially a hell, where you live on faith, you have absolutely no way to know what you're supposed to do the next minute. You're desperate for anything to give you hope. You're on the verge of collapse, spiritually, mentally, and you need something. Because you can see the same light as me. And because of your experiences coming up are different than mine, we get to share those in the life hereafter. When I say the life hereafter, I don't mean right after this death. Who knows how many more times you have to be born and live or whatever. But eternally, we will be bound in a friendship of love, and we will have a different path getting there, and we'll have eternally the ability to share our uniqueness, which only adds to the base of God. When the saying that God is complete, and that's another corrupt teaching. What the hell do they mean God is complete? That's obviously not true. Because at one time, someone didn't know they loved God. And then when they found out and they started teaching and preaching and learning, and then they became a lover of God, that added to the base of God. So God is growing and gaining through you. And of course, the same can be said about Shiva. But we live in the domain of Shiva. That's why it's so difficult here. It's not going to get easier, physically speaking, but it gets immensely easier, spiritually speaking, when you finally get that spiritual enlightenment. I mean, Jesus talked about the fountain that never extinguishes, the welling up inside of you. That's what enlightenment is, or a part of it. I just feel so spiritually pleasant right now. I don't know why. Maybe because you love me. Maybe because what you give to me spiritually that cannot be seen or whatever. The connection. I don't know. But I feel it. I love you, and I hope and pray that you endure, that you pray, that you learn, that you get what you have to have so that you can spiritually grow another day. Somebody asked, do you ever, something about plateau? I don't know. But yeah, spiritually speaking, I plateaued so many times in my life. It is just amazing. My first plateau, when I was damn certain that there was nothing else to learn, was so laughable. And then I plateaued again maybe 4 or 5 years later, and it's like, well, now I've learned everything. And after doing that several times, I quit. I quit doing that. It's like, no. There's no such thing as a plateau. It's just constant and forever growth. Forever. There's no such thing as a plateau. Well, I mean, there are plateaus, but they're just temporary plateaus until whatever you need takes place, and then you're ready to jump to the next spiritual plateau. Anyways, thank you for watching. I hope you have a good week, and I love you. Bye.